In a quiet valley surrounded by rolling hills and thick forests lived a humble shepherd named Liam. With sun-kissed skin and eyes that glowed with warmth, Liam was no ordinary shepherd. Every morning, just as the golden light of dawn kissed the treetops, he would rise from his modest wooden cottage with his crook in hand and lead his flock of sheep toward the emerald edges of the forest. Liam's love for nature was deeper than most people could understand. He didn't just watch over his sheep. He watched over the entire forest and everything in it. His footsteps, though heavy with daily labor, were always light upon the earth. He walked barefoot so he wouldn't crush tiny insects. He avoided paths where bird nests lay hidden in the shrubs, and he never allowed his sheep to graze near fragile plants or shallow burrows where rabbits or lizards might rest. The forest, to Liam, was more than a place for pasture. It was a sacred realm, a living being that breathed through its trees, sang through its birds, and whispered through its streams. He would often pause on his daily routes to fill water pots under shady trees for thirsty squirrels and birds. He once patched up a nest that had fallen from a branch, carefully placing it back in its spot while the frightened mother bird watched from above. Slowly, the creatures of the wild began to know him, not as a threat, but as one of their own. Sparrows and robins would follow him as he walked, chirping in chorus. Deer peeked through the trees and watched him pass with soft, trusting eyes. Even foxes, usually shy and hidden, would sit near the grazing fields and observe Liam quietly. The forest had accepted him, because Liam had first accepted the forest. His wife, Clara, shared his love for this green world. Though she stayed behind most days to tend to their small home and prepare meals, she often joined him on Sundays, carrying a basket of seeds and breadcrumbs to feed the birds, and water flasks to refill little ponds formed after the rains. Their bond was gentle, just like their way of life, simple, caring, and full of purpose. Years passed. While the outside world changed rapidly, cities grew, traffic raged, and buildings scraped the skies, Liam's forest remained a serene sanctuary, and thanks to his tender efforts, the wildlife thrived. New bird species nested each year. Rare herbs began to grow again. Streams stayed clean and full, as Liam would clear any fallen debris after heavy rains. One particularly hot summer, many birds were struggling to find water. Liam noticed this, and over the next few days, placed dozens of handmade water bowls under different trees across the forest. He refilled them daily, sometimes walking miles just to make sure not a single creature went thirsty. The birds came in flocks, fluttering joyfully above him, chirping in gratitude. Their songs filled the air like a symphony. Locals from nearby villages started noticing the change too. They whispered about the bird caller shepherd and the man the forest listens to. Word spread beyond the valley. One day, a group of wildlife officers visited the area for a routine survey. They were astonished. The region they had once marked as moderate wildlife activity was now bursting with life. Birds, insects, deer, rabbits, owls, squirrels, the area was alive with harmony. They found Liam tending to a wounded crane near a stream. He had wrapped the bird's leg with cloth and was feeding it soaked grains. The officers stood in silence, watching the scene, moved by the shepherd's kindness. That evening they returned with an offer, not of money, but of purpose. They asked Liam to become the official caretaker of the forest zone. They even built a beautiful cottage for him and Clara near the base of the green hills, a place where they could live with their sheep, within the very heart of the land they loved. Above the door of the cottage, the officers placed a wooden plaque carved with golden letters, "The Lover of Nature Conservation." It was a title Liam never asked for, but one he had earned with every kind act, every drop of water shared, every nest protected, and every blade of grass spared. Now, with official recognition, Liam started organizing small nature camps for local children. He taught them how to listen to birds, how to protect insects, how to recognize animal tracks, and most importantly, how to live with nature, not against it. The forest, once just a grazing ground, had transformed into a living classroom, a sanctuary, a symbol of hope. And Liam, the shepherd who once walked barefoot through thorny paths just to protect a nest, had become its quiet, humble guardian. This story reminds us that real change doesn't always come from grand actions. Sometimes it begins with the smallest kindnesses. By respecting nature and treating every living being as valuable, we can create a world that thrives in balance. Liam's story shows us that one person, with love and consistency, can protect and revive an entire ecosystem.